Buy my son RE4 and Diablo 4, and then he plays the old Star Wars MMO. Kid knows what he likes. What can we say? All right, best of 3 semifinal. In the top right, we do have System Gaming's MaxPax. And in the bottom left, it is Team Liquid's Kelazhur. Kelazhur defeating Lambo. I saw at the end of Game 3, and apparently he used some battle mech. Otherwise, Kelazhur's road to the semifinals has not been an incredibly difficult one. Eric Fire has occasionally caused some upsets, but generally would expect Kelazhur to win against him. To go up against MaxPax as his next Protoss opponent is quite a leap. MaxPax, I would not say maybe favored to win the entire thing, but one of 2 or 3 people favored to win the entire Open Cup, so Kelazhur's in a lot of trouble. I also don't know if I really think that Kelazhur's TvP is like his best or better than, say, Humarines and Clem. A lot of Terrans are having a good time versus Protoss when their name isn't MaxPax. Then they might be having a wonderful time. But when it comes to MaxPax, that is a very different story. We are basically condensing down their matchup to literally them versus MaxPax, not them versus Protoss. It's very different. So it's yeah, I mean, I would have bet on MaxPax to win. But Kelazhur, I mean, sometimes can be a slightly different style. Certainly the way that he plays when he gets the units, I would say his decision-making is different than the other Terrans that I listed. So there is that to think about. I do think he has maybe 1 or 2 different builds. Can be a kind of unique Terran player. I just don't think it's different enough, and I don't know if the differences necessarily make it better versus MaxPax. So basically I'm saying that the only thing is a little bit of a question mark as to the choices Kelazhur will make. I can almost blind cast, you know, Clem versus MaxPax at this point when it comes to their openers. And then, you know, as the game goes on, it gets more complicated. But, you know, not so much for Kelazhur versus MaxPax. So let's just watch. Let's just wait and see. MaxPax has not opened up too aggressively. Oh, I take it back. He did. He absolutely did. Zealot and then a Stalker and then an Adept, actually. So I think he saw that this was going to be an opener without a Reaper, first of all. Saw that it was Reactor first. Now, that actually would usually mean that you don't want to get the Zealot. Is there's really nothing it can do. It can't even try to distract the Reaper from coming home. But the Stalker makes a lot of sense. The Stalker outranges Marines, of course. And so Kelazhur is very eager to nip this pressure in the bud, no doubt expecting it from the likes of MaxPax. So he wants to take care of the Zealot, and then he also wants to ensure that his Marines are on that high ground so the Stalker can't use its range to abuse it. So, I mean, they're basically reading each other very well, but the third unit being the Adept gives that high ground vision regardless, and then now there's obviously 2 Protoss units, making it a little bit sketchier, but, yeah, I would say the Reactor first actually works out really well against this. It would have been a little more complicated had the Stalker gotten a high ground immediately. But then, even then, I can't, I don't know. I mean, MaxPax does have some pretty good micro, but you also have to worry about that timing of the factory since all the gas went into the factory. Well, I guess in Reactor as well, but not a Reaper, then Reactor. So it's like, okay, what's coming to the factory? Is it a Wood of Mine about to appear? One Wood of Mine would have dealt with this early pressure if it really got out of hand. And what looks like Kelazhur, trusting his defense, went into the build he probably pre-planned, which was going into a reactored factory. So a couple Hellions going across the map, see the Warpening Stalker, know they can't get any damage done. This is questionable news. MaxPax is 4-gating. I don't know, every time I'm like, what if? What if he's 2 or 3 gating? And every time I just, like, why do I even think that? Now, absolutely he's 4 gating, and of course, the more time you spend on the factory not producing a tank, the harder it's going to be defending a 4-gate. I would say if you're, again, not facing MaxPax, there's a lot of wiggle room there. There's a lot of, like, well, it'll probably be good enough. But when you're facing MaxPax's 4-gate, good enough is not good enough. It absolutely is not. Excellence, anticipation on the medevac drop. It was kind of unlikely to be a 4 Hellion opener. Again, if it was, you just block it off anyways. So, probably going to be the follow-up to Wood of Mines. MaxPax either figured that one out or just, you know, had nothing else to do with the stalkers until Blink's ready to go, right? So he has already cornered that. And he will engage eventually. First tank's out, second tank's on the way. It's not the fastest tank you could get, but nonetheless, it's still going to have 2 tanks by the time the 4 gate really gets ramped up. And that is kind of what's most important. And yet still, we see Terran players mishandle this defense. This is quite nice for Kelazhur. He gets the Hellions in, forces the Blink to be used to the left side so the Widow Mines can securely enter into the right. Very interesting decision there from MaxPax. Unless he somehow coincidentally made a mistake that worked out that way. He did purposefully only pull like 80% of his probes. Interesting. 5 probes go down with the help of the Helen in the main base. Raven just got shot down at the beginning of the 4 gates. Now the 4 gate looks like it has been well defended. Good Sim City, 2 tanks, 2 bunkers at the front. Already a couple of stalkers lost. Just 1, but many injured. And MaxPax, I mean, he's already not putting all of his eggs in this basket. He's already moving on. So he's actually doing a 4 stalker hit squad in the main, but he's actually still got natural units. Kelazhur not going to be tricked by this. Still has his 2 bunkers up filled with units. A 3rd tank had just popped out too, so the main base was really quite secure. And 4 SCVs going down isn't quite the ticket. Did he actually get a reactor? He might have gotten a cancel. 1 tank might go down, but how many stalkers went down for that? I think 1, almost 2. 5 stalkers in total. The pressure continues on, and as long as there's still 4 stalkers available for that Warp Prism, we still have the possibility of killing more SCVs. Kelazhur needs to move on with his build, which fortunately, thanks to Good Sim City, he can do. Unfortunately, with all the stalkers entering in the main base, that combat shields is gone. The stim is also gone. I think MaxPax had actually sniped that initially too, just by the looks of the timing, right? He might have sniped it before grabbing that Raven and I just missed it. So that is quite unfortunate. You would at least expect stim to have been done. At the very least, like very close to being done, because that was only like less than halfway, so it must have been canceled earlier. And that means that MaxPax has the world as his oyster. He actually fears nothing at this point. He fears no man. No bio unit at the very least. L370, thank you for the 10 months. Is it unusual to see skins in this game? No, because all of the add-ons, all of the mods take away the vision of the skins for the players. So it doesn't really matter at this point. I am getting some awesome thunderstorms. We were riding around and seeing the lightning strikes. It's pretty cool. So MaxPax is undeniably in the lead. Even more so, I feel like, than he usually can be with a like a halfway successful 4 gate. The 4 gate success rating really has to be changed to the MaxPax 4 gate success rating, because it's so different if you were another Protoss. The second best Protoss in the world, Hero, does a 4 gate, and it's still worse than what MaxPax does as far as the execution and the follow-up in particular. So sometimes MaxPax doesn't do as much damage, still has that sim timing to worry about, and barely does hold on with stim, with storm and charge. In this case, he really had a lot of time to be comfortable, so it's not as much of a dive I would expect. You still have to give credit to stim timings, 120 seconds as opposed to its old 140 many years ago. And of course, while stim might be taking a long time to finish, the bio count does still grow by waiting for stim. So there's still some power in the eventual Terran attack, no doubt about that, but they don't get to really start things and start to hiccup the Protoss as much as if stim was on time. MaxPax does have Storm, and he is ready to go. Storms are actually on the Eye-Templar, and that second Storm in particular hit the heart of the Bio Army. Yikes. That is all 3 Storms gone, however, so now it's back to good old-fashioned overcharge to save the day. So much of the bio's injured, only 3 medevacs to heal up. 2 tanks are probably not actually going to be the biggest problem if the charge lots can get a little bit of a wraparound, and there you go. That's exactly what MaxPax is setting up. MaxPax, actually, his biggest problem right now is a bit of a bank being held on to. Even after he warps in, he still has 300, 300, or 400, 400. And that's going to matter, you know. 4 extra Zealots, 2 extra Stalkers, 1 extra Archon. Anything along those lines could be a big deal. Zealots can be used to intercept the reinforcements and come in from the backside. Tanks are not being refocused. There we go at the last second, but also having to micro the bio. You know, it is difficult to ask Kelazhur to do all of that at once. MaxPax is on 4 bases, Kelazhur on 3. If MaxPax could spend all of his money whenever he wanted to, then he might not be having so much of a problem. If he had 9 extra zealots coming in from the backside once again or going for a run by, this actually would probably be fine. But MaxPax, a little low on the, not gateway count. I mean, 10 gateway seems okay to me, but perhaps on the consistent warp-ins, he is now in a lot of trouble. That shield battery's been destroyed. Warp Prism just got hit by a Widow Mine, so it is injured, no longer safe to use for High Templars. And MaxPax is just down to trying to survive with Stalkers. Now, that might actually work out surprisingly well, as it does become these lower unit scenarios, Marauders and Medivacs versus Stalkers. It's a micro battle, and MaxPax with another warping of Zealots just in the nick of time finally pushes this back. But considering that he delayed Stim considerably and then got, I would say, 3 good storms, with one in particular being great, I am surprised at how close that was. I would say that at least some of the closeness came down to the excess minerals in the bank, but I say that to give some credit to it. I'm not sure 4 Zealots, 6 Zealots might have been the difference maker in some of those earlier battles. I don't know, because they are so kind of one-dimensional. But MaxPax does survive. And that was certainly the most important thing right then and there. 4 bases were up and running on the minerals, now getting the gases and the 5th base as well. That's exactly where Kelazhur is headed, however. MaxPax's Zealots to the left side, I believe, just got a glimpse of that. Kelazhur caught a glimpse of them anyways. And MaxPax is going to be more than happy to let those Zealots just buy time, as the Stalkers, Zealots, and Storms cover on the right side. This actually could get a little topsy-turvy. Okay, it's not going to go into a base trade. Kelazhur is going to retreat back and try and deal with this. He sends at least 1 drop over to his opponent's base. It's 4 Marauders, 3 Marauders and a Widow Mine. And I don't know how much that's really going to do damage, but I suppose it's better than nothing. At this point, had he just returned and dealt with this, obviously MaxPax just runs away. That's a win for MaxPax. So he at least tries to get a drop going, but not terribly successful. MaxPax recalled, right? I'm not crazy. I'm like 90% sure he recalled. No, I'm crazy. He did not recall. His High Templar was there, and then suddenly he was back here. How did that get Zooks? Magic. All right, so he's still got a recall in the pocket. Lots of Medivacs here healing up a lot of bio. Kelazhur's army still packs a punch, especially as its upgrades have been superior to MaxPax's, but he just can't get everything together. And at this point, MaxPax has added on tons of additional units, tons of additional army, and does have that really nice economy to make up for any potentially bad engagement. He can take a poor one. He cannot take a catastrophic one. He takes the worst engagement possible for a Protoss, and Kelazhur could get on top of his production, and it gets a little weird, but MaxPax could even give up 5th base, I think, and actually still survive after killing 15 STVs. It wouldn't be nice, but I think he could survive. And perhaps he will have to. Oh, well, maybe not. Storm's coming in at the right second. Trying to deter Kelazhur from sniping that Nexus. They got close. The army that was left there was not particularly good at handling this, but the rest of the army comes forward and will deal with it. That actually ended up being a little bit better for Kelazhur than I anticipated, because MaxPax actually had probably 25-30% of his army defending this base. I can feel like pounding on my feet. That's the weirdest thing. We're the basement apartment. Then he just lost that 30% of the army and then started to recover. So the supplies have evened out. I mean, if I say 30%, I mean literally 30 supply, right? That's the change up since that pseudo base trade. MaxPax also having to be very careful with being out on the map. Those Colossus actually aren't as intimidating as they might seem. Now, combined with the storms, then that's too much splash, for sure. But if the storms go away or the concave gets a little better for Kelazhur, then the Colossus might melt. They do not have much of a buffer. There we go, exactly like this. There's that concave. One storm does come down, but no second one. The Colossus getting targeted. The Zealots coming in. Not particularly helpful as they get melted by the 2-1 bio. MaxPax actually making the exact mistake that I was talking about. I didn't think he would, actually. He's usually very good at reading those scenarios, but without disruptors, in case that happens, you don't really have a get-out-of-jail-free card. Not that disruptors are free, necessarily, but they would have tried to punish a little bit more. Instead, MaxPax just loses his built-up army. He's about to lose his 5th base as well as that 6th that he definitely wanted. The army of the Terran player might be, oh my god, very injured. And the Medivacs are out of juice, but MaxPax needs something more solid here. He needs to deliver some of these killing blows as the splash from the storm only injures. The Disruptors actually get those kills. That's not a storm. It's an Archon. No more storms available. War Prism about to go down. Actually, Vikings landed, so the War Prism still intact. Disruptor trying to buy some time. Nexus does go down, causing the slow Zealot warp in. Archon gets targeted as well. Medivacs are out of juice, but the EMP hits the rest of the army. It's not about really any more splash. It's about whether or not the Disruptors can hit anyways. I guess if Kelazhur does severely overstim, that is still a problem, no doubt about that. And with another stim, he would be in the red, so he actually does have to respect that. At the point which all your bio is at red, that's Stalkers one-shotting. That's Zealot swipes one-shotting, and, well, Kelazhur might also be overstaying his welcome. Doesn't want to let up on the momentum, considering that it's kind of amazing he already has so much. I really thought after, I believe, the 2nd denial of stim, again, I'm not 100% sure about that. I really thought MaxPax was going to have a bit of a playground, but Kelazhur proving to be quite the contender. It does look like perhaps things are settling down and maybe not in Kelazhur's favor. Still not mining off of his 3rd base, down 30 workers, still dealing with a War Prism that really should have died. Those Vikings landed just a second too soon. And they are going to go right into the main base on top of the production, despite the missile turret's attempt to stop it. This is so annoying. Kelazhur's 4th base is properly protected as a planetary. That's going to be tough to crack for MaxPax, who is not a very rich Protoss. You know, he uses disruptor shots to take down the planetary, so he doesn't have enough to take down the bio. That's going to be an actual choice. That is a pain in the buttocks for MaxPax. So he will continue shooting at the vulnerabilities out of the 3rd base. Disruptors are trying to come up from behind, trying to be sneaky, but Kelazhur caught wind of this, and he's going to grab 3 of them. I believe that was the 3rd one, might have been the 4th. The rest of the bio army just casually strolling through, taking down another Nexus perhaps, looking at the Colossus, licking their lips. They know they can get it. The Zealots charging in, trying to protect the Colossus. The Disruptors also finally trying to get some shots. One shot hit, but it barely hit. And the army of MaxPax is coming in piecemeal here from different directions. Is it going to be enough? EMPs hit the Archons. Disruptor once again going to try and get the shot. A lift is necessary. And while a lift might have saved some of the Terran units, it's not ideal. Question mark? I don't think Kelazhur could have overstayed. Well, I don't know if he could have stayed any longer, but if he could, I don't know actually. It's such a small, low supply game that it's hard to tell. That pickup might have been the momentum disruption that saved MaxPax's life, or maybe Kelazhur had to inevitably leave anyways. I'm not sure. But the point is, after the lift and leave, Kelazhur regroups with healthier, more energized Medivacs, and MaxPax regroups with just a handful more units, basically. I mean, nothing particularly powerful, but it is more units. And I really got to emphasize the not particularly powerful. He's down 30 army supply. He's going to be very vulnerable to the EMPs. His upgrades are technically better than his opponent, but Kelazhur made sure to grab the most important one of them all, which, of course, is the +3 attack. So MaxPax, you know, he has been trying to recover his economy during all of those battles. This base, I don't know when that came up, but apparently at some point it did. And he does have double the workers of his opponents, but the economies, as you can see, thanks to good old-fashioned mules, is still working in Kelazhur's favor. Disruptor goes down. It's so expensive for MaxPax to actually rebuild this Nexus. Also in Kelazhur's sights, the Zealots are going to be charging in rather uselessly whenever they do this. The Zealots are not an issue. The Zealots are merely time buyers for a Colossus to attack, a Disruptor to shoot out, or the Stalkers to focus fire. But the Zealots are not particularly helpful, as this army is very, very much too large and too powerful with that +3 attack. MaxPax really needs to be on Disruptor army, Disruptor Stalker, to be combating a late-game Terran. His now perfected 3-3 upgrades, I don't think beats the bio. Bio is just pretty freaking good, I'll tell you guys. Especially when it has about a bajillion Medivacs. 10 Medivacs actually is probably exactly correct, but it just looks like a billion. He probably wants 10 Medivacs. In fact, he might even be saying he wish he had 12. But he is now out of cash. I was talking about those mules. They are an adrenaline rush. So, you know, he was up to 2,000 minerals on the board here, but now it's gone. Now it's over, and it's MaxPax who is conquering the economy as he has replaced the base off to the left side. However, he is losing the battles. Colossus goes down, Chargelots as well, and Kelazhur with the finish. And a very surprising win. I mean, in general, I'm surprised that Kelazhur took the win. I was much more favoring MaxPax, but then the situation in which it happened, his stim delayed a significant amount, giving, I thought, MaxPax time to play around, but it's almost like because MaxPax wasn't facing the usual pacing of a Terran player, he didn't necessarily get all of the jabs that he usually does. Because I would say that's usually what happens. At the end of the day, a 4-gate that doesn't do a considerable amount of damage to your opponent, kill many SCVs, trade out with a lot of army, is considered a bit of a failure. It's just that with MaxPax, he usually can get that kind of mediocre setup and then just knows innately like how the Terran's going to play it out, right? He knows the Terran's going to push out at this moment, and then he's going to send 2 Zealots in that somehow do him a bunch of damage or do a big distraction, and then the opponent's going to try and do a drop in the main base, which he perfectly counters. And we've seen plenty of Clem and Here Marine TvPs in which they defend the 4-gate. You know it's on the way, and they defend it, but then things go topsy-turvy. I thought they still were. I thought as soon as those 3 storms hit like they did, it was going to be all types of difficult for Kelazhur, and it was difficult. It was a very, very close game. But MaxPax did not win, as the game, I guess, did eventually find himself. It did find MaxPax in a very favorable position, I would say, when he was on 5 bases, going up to Colossus. It was his move out onto Kelazhur's 4th. Before it was actually set down, but it was over in that location that he lost, I believe, too much momentum. He really overstepped, should have waited for disruptors and stalkers, and maybe would have been able to play out the mid to late game better, but woulda, coulda, shoulda. Now in the top right, down a game, it is MaxPax. In the bottom left, it is Kelazhur. Just the mole people asking you to cast louder. Apparently it was my cats were fighting underneath my bed. So it just felt like it was coming from underneath. I know Kelazhur can get to that stage of Terran where he just has a buttload of Medivacs and Marauders, and his micro is pretty freaking good. In fact, that was the stage in which I was kind of alluding to when I was describing how he's a bit different. I think when it comes to that stage of just mass bio with some EMPs, Kelazhur does have a rather energetic playstyle. To the point where I would say that his usual problem is still playing like a youngin', despite being so old. Is he 26 now? But he usually gets too excited. He usually dives headfirst into storms, disruptors, Colossus, headfirst into a doom drop in the main base, but then suddenly 17 stalkers appear. Like, I would say that sometimes ends his very cool game. You're like, oh my goodness, yeah, and go Kelazhur, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then he just makes one fatal mistake. Actually, he does that in TvT as well. Kelazhur, despite his years as a pro gamer, still plays kind of like I stereotype as a youngin'. The players who are both perhaps actually young, so just, I don't know, something in their hard wiring in their brain tells them they got to put the pedal to the metal, or just, you know, in general that that inexperience can show from the youngins. There's no experience that tells them, like, this is where you should stop. This is where you've messed up before. Kelazhur sometimes does play like that, but obviously not a new pro gamer whatsoever. But he managed to avoid it. He managed to avoid it in the last game, so he got set up well enough, apparently. And then he delivered with good execution and a great amount of energy, again, just like consistent, and he did not make a fatal mistake. And that is, I think, the type of Kelazhur play that does make us all very excited for him. Makes us wonder if he could have won the North American region, or the Americas, sorry. The Americas region, or that time that he took down TY no one expected. That's the Kelazhur that does well. When he gets into that position and then, well, it doesn't screw up. I mean, it's a bit of a TLDR. Very early aggression. 2 Hellions, 3 Reapers off the factory expand. It's factory expand, right? Yeah. Killing 4 probes, not 5 in total. Literally, oh boy. Sensitivity just got changed. 6 in total. Still not exactly worth it with 100 gas being invested into. A later command center as well. MaxPax will probably get some return damage with the Phoenix. And it's going to happen so quickly that it's... I would say it kind of makes up for it. Well, it catches the Reaper. That's not what I was thinking. Cyclone pops out. In the nick of time, too. Had they gone straight to the SCV line, they might have been able to pick off 2 SCVs. Oh, there's only 1 Graviton beam. All right. Yeah, so only 1. Yeah. Well, then that is just econ damage that Kelazhur did to MaxPax. The consequence of his, the army trade. It's not something he really cares about, right? The early game units. So, basically did enough damage to warrant the opener, I would say, but I don't think it puts Kelazhur into a fantastic position. And MaxPax does still have the potential of grabbing a couple of SCVs, but the longer the game goes, the less that a SCV here or there really matters. I said there was potential. I didn't say it would happen, and actually, he kind of gets slapped a little there. 2 Cyclones almost grabbing that Phoenix. MaxPax is going to go up to a 3rd base and into Colossus after his Phoenix. Only up 7 workers. Would want to be up a few more, but, you know. Okay, not terrible. Not like Kelazhur's going to have the easiest road forward. Kelazhur's build was at to the factory, but then instead of going right up to that starport, went into the triple barracks, something that Kelazhur knows was scouted, right? Phoenix got it right on in there. So when a Protoss sees that, they can kind of assume that you're not going to push out until your starport's done, until your medevacs are out. A 3 racks, a lone 3 racks is kind of the difference. That's obviously where people run out with stim. But this move out that we're seeing here from Kelazhur is I would say, much more of a, kind of a cheese. You know, I think it depends on being somewhat unscouted, and then finding MaxPax being, like, not absurdly greedy, but just, you know, not expecting it. Just being like, what the heck? Why are there Marines on the front? As it is, now Kelazhur is using it just to kind of get that pressure. Colossus pops out, however, and only Marines will not stand up against this. 1 Cyclone did die despite Kelazhur's attempt to repair, but the second one could still help out. Tank coming forward as well, and eventually medevacs will pop out too, but you can see the reactor is only halfway done. This is a potentially problematic engagement for both parties. I mean, this could go sideways for Kelazhur as well. But already grabbing the Colossus! Oh, with mass Marine, too. I think the tank got 1 or 2 shots, but that shield body overcharge just seconds too late. And what Colossus kill is nice. It looks like it still won't be enough. At the end of the day, that was a big dive with an incomplete Terran army. No medevacs to heal them up, and no upgrade. That only finished towards the tail end of the battle, so MaxPax should be thanking his lucky stars for that one. Just a little violin for the Colossus, everyone. A little F in chat. But it looks like that still counts as a hold. And does that count as Kelazhur messing up? You know, if going sideways is going 90 degrees, let's say that Kelazhur's attack went about 45 degrees. It's like, it's not the worst, but I do think he's worse for it. He probably should not have done that, even though he grabbed the Colossus. That looked like it was going to be big problems, and then suddenly it wasn't. And now looking at the supply, looking at the setup, Kelazhur's next attack is going to be flimsy. He's got to wait longer for more units. It's going to be dependent on these tanks, too, which means that it's slower. And it's going to be vulnerable to potential charge lots, which are going to be coming out eventually. MaxPax, I mean, maybe a little bit later Twilight Council and Forge than some other ways of following up. But Charge is a relatively fast upgrade. And as far as the attack upgrade and the armor upgrades, alright, MaxPax might stay behind on that one, but we know what happens when a Protoss gets comfortable on economy, gets double Forge, and cranks out the Chronos. They catch up. So, you know, 1-1 is probably going to be in favor for the Terran for a while, but this game has slowed down considerably in the mid-game. Kelazhur going for a slightly earlier attack without those medevacs, without that upgrade, has taken the wind out of a potential, like, 8-minute attack, right? So 6 minutes attack, you lose the units, all the units, right? You don't have those units for an 8-minute attack. And the idea is that you either surprise them and get a win or a huge gain, or you don't, and then you're just kind of, well, you're doing this, which is defending, allowing the Protoss player to take control over the map, take up their bases, and get their upgrades on the way. Kelazhur is not in the best position for a Terran player, for thinking about typical Terran versus Protoss dynamics, and particularly for his playstyle. Him as a player, I don't think this is his favorite position to be in either. As the last game saw a lot of that consistent aggression, this is also just like the opposite of last game. So, boding much, much better for MaxPax as he takes a 40 supply lead, attacking on the front, charges in the natural. Kelazhur dependent on these tanks to safeguard him from the Colossus. Nothing else is doing it. Oh my god, Zealous on the main base as well. It's a tri-attack here from MaxPax to sweep up game number 2. He's got a dust, or he's got a broom and a dustpan, and that was pretty easy, actually. Just like, yep. That's what happens. Kelazhur made a mess with that earlier attack. And Kelazhur did not have a very fun time afterwards. Now it is tied up 1-1. In the bottom right, we have MaxPax. In the top left, it is Kelazhur. So MaxPax, like I said, just made that end look very, very easy. I'm kind of still wrapping my head around just how one-sided that became, considering that MaxPax seemingly made a huge mistake by allowing his Colossus to die, but I guess it was a worthy sacrifice. Just, I guess it would have been more impactful if Kelazhur had just poked more than committed. But seeing as the Colossus was vulnerable, just thought, oh man, I have to commit. So I don't know if Kelazhur was going to commit anyways, or if it was a potential just opportune moment that didn't actually turn out to be that opportune. But it's kind of crazy how one-sided it became afterwards. I did call Kelazhur's pre-medevac move out almost cheesy, and if a cheese fails, it's supposed to be incredibly debilitating to the cheeser, but I mean, I was just kind of borrowing a word. I didn't think it was actually going to be all that bad if he got cleaned up, but it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. Perhaps if MaxPax didn't do a triple-pronged attack, Kelazhur might have still been holding on, but it nonetheless was not a very pretty game of TvP for the Terran side of things. So he's definitely going to want to focus up on the reasons he won the first game. So Kelazhur, you know, he does those pokes, he does those prods, he occasionally does some interesting maneuvers. Like I said at the beginning of this series, that was one of them. But what won him the first game was not cleverness, actually. It was a bit more of a straight punch to the face. I mean, it was a rapid flurry of attacks, and so that was pretty freaking cool, and all respect to the way Kelazhur played that out, but I'm saying the mid-game, allowing him to set up this very action-packed run around back and forth of mid to late game TvP action is where he won. Now, it wasn't an easy win, but that is where he took his victory. So emphasizing that as the series concludes here might be the play. So going up into a very safe, once again, perhaps 1-1, and then 2 more barracks, but using it defensively. Just make sure you don't die to a 4-gate. It is not a 4-gate from MaxPax. It is actually going to be a 3-gate with a proxy gateway, so no technology coming through here. I was very much hesitant to believe in this when it first started being used by MaxPax, but first time I used it, and I was saying, I don't know, it was very effective. So I know this can do a lot. There is a chance that this is a complete failure, because that is kind of what MaxPax does. MaxPax chooses a lot of builds, not last build, but the 4-gate, the DT rush, the proxy gate with no technology, that if it fails hard, it is just dead. It is supposed to be dead, anyways, and then he somehow manages to escape out of certain death. So this would be one of them. You know, if Kelazhur just slaps this down, a bunker on the high ground, I would assume it's going to be slapped down. But, you know, sometimes it gets a little tricky. Oh, it's a Depths too. Okay. Yeah, definitely no bust attempt here. Just kind of kill the SCVs. What was my point? If he slaps it down, then he's in good place. But I don't know if it's slapping down. It's hard to slap down a Depths in the early game. The honest truth is that you just do not have enough Marine production. So you're in a little bit of trouble. It's kind of flipping the roles of the early game TvP, where usually it's the Protoss who has the trouble getting to a decent amount of units. It's now Kelazhur who has trouble. The bunker, of course, will hold, or at least presumably it will. Now with Stalkers coming in, they could have targeted it. They went for the SCVs and the Mules instead. Now bypassing the bunker totally and completely. 3 Stalkers, not quite one-shotting the Marines, but adding that range. The Adepts do not have. Kelazhur is struggling against this. 7 workers have died. Many workers are not mining. And MaxPax might have delayed his technology for this, but he is on his way to getting to that blink. Unimine pops off once again. And it seems like MaxPax is okay with these trades. 12 SCVs having gone down. Bunker about to fall as well. Just to say that you did. The tank pops out, and that will be the end of this push. If Kelazhur had gotten a tank first, instead of that Widow Mine, a Hellion, then Widow Mine, actually, this might have been cleared up even faster. But this is such a fast attack that those micro decisions are going to be a lot more punishable. So that was, I think, exactly what MaxPax wanted to do. Now, at the end of the day, you do have to consider how much MaxPax put into the attack. But I think we can check out the stats, we can check out the numbers and say, like, what he put in, he definitely got out. He's up 13 workers, and it's, is it a rando? Like, what's going on here? It has given him the lead in the economy and time to get his technology, which he is now using to potentially end the game. This actually might be the end. We have a nice little discussion going on in the obs. Should I get engaged? Maybe I should just tell him. Nah, I shouldn't get engaged. I'll just back away, man. Just back away. Only if he continues to be obnoxious. Their third base does come down for MaxPax. They looked at the Stalkers and wondered if they were going to win the game, but no, there's enough production for Kelazhur. Nonetheless, Kelazhur is in a difficult position. Stim not done. Medevac supply blocked currently, so other problems hampering Kelazhur. Kelazhur does have a Marine drop, at least trying to do something. Four workers is better than nothing if the medevac lives. If... I guess it will. Only 3 gateways worth of production, so you can't really chase this one down with warp-ins. Chase it the old-fashioned way. MaxPax, 3 base setup, 56 workers, still ahead by 14 in total, getting a Colossus charge over halfway done. He certainly seems to have all of the necessary upgrades and units to deal with this push out. The tanks would be a little scary if charge wasn't already on the way. And even then, they're not particularly scary because the amount of bio protecting them is awfully small. As long as MaxPax had his warp-ins, which he does now have, his gateways have finished up. Shield batteries are done. Colossus is even out. Oh, that was nice of the guy to realize he's a rando and just leave. I know Roddy was casting with someone, which he does allow, or like his like channel redemption. I wonder if that was him. We'll never know. Liberator actually gets some damage done. Not even. It's 1 probe. A couple more go down to the Marine drop that now has Stim. Came back into the main base. So again, this is better than absolutely nothing, but the supplies are still telling the tale. 30 supply up for the Protoss. Almost now all of it in army, actually, since MaxPax is capped out on mineral income on 3 bases. Now going up to go 4th. Yeah, I saw that. Oh, where are you going, probe? I was like, I saw a probe over there. Okay, now it's going. Yeah. So we'll start building up probes eventually again. Plus, he wants to get his gases eventually. But perhaps emphasizing the attack first. We do not have a warp prism, but we do have that proxy gateway still up and running, and that's exactly what MaxPax is keeping in mind. I do like Kelazhur's tank position, but unfortunately without that sight, doesn't actually get any shots off on this ramp, and well, speaking of sight, Kelazhur just has no idea this army ran up into his natural. He had 0 idea the army was moving out on the map at all, and that's just unfortunate. I'm not sure that Kelazhur could have withstanded an attack anyways, but you certainly don't have your best foot forward, not knowing that you're about to be attacked in your natural. Withstood? It's got to be withstood. Stand is not a word. GG. MaxPax does take the 2-1. Unfortunately, Kelazhur, with a flash of brilliance in game 1, doesn't have another one for the rest of the series. And that'll be that. It is the expected outcome for me anyways, but seriously, game 1 was pretty awesome. MaxPax will move on to the finals. Best of 5 versus another Terran in the form of Clem. I'm just like casually checking chat during my cast, and I see someone say pussy. Get the fuzzy ones, and I was really wondering what was happening. It's a real question mark.